Hello, my name is Eduardo and today I am here with another tutorial for App Inventor, and today we're going to work with Space Invaders version that we have just made. Okay, but for today, okay, you know what? I want to start over. I want to start again with this Space Invaders. This is the thing that we have so far. So I was like making this ship to spin and just to shoot or fire. Okay, and also I had, I guess, a previous version, but the point is that I want to change that thing. I want to change the game a little bit. Okay, so that's the idea. Okay, so for today, so we're going to start making these things working. So probably we continue with this or not, but I guess for today I will start we can start like making a new project. Okay, or you can use this previous project and just add a new screen or delete things. Well, anyway, I just rename my, well, save this project as another one just to test or to try. So basically I just was like thinking about how to work with this, and this is what I want to have right now. So I was working with Inkscape, and this is more or less the thing that I want. Okay, so I hope this thing works. Okay, so now just, well, this is not an Inkscape tutorial today, but I have here these enemies and things, and this is my ship. I'm going to set it to I guess 32, it's okay. No, let's set it to 64 just to export it, and then we're going to reduce the size in App Inventor. Okay, so to start, well, we need these images and things. Okay, so I'm going to export this as my ship. So we're going to start again. So my ship, we're going to use a different name, and we're going to export. So I already export this enemy, and if you check, it is the same size, 64 times 48, 64 times 48, and 64 times 48. I also exported the background. For the background I used 256 times 360 pixels. Okay, so now let's go to App Inventor, and you know what, let's start with the project again. Start the new project, and we're going to call this project Space Invaders, I don't know, Reloaded. So we are going to start again. Okay, so I don't want to see my old blocks and anything. Okay, so I just want to start fresh. So, well, the first thing that we need to create this game, it is to import files. So just let me check. I have these files in this folder. So I will go here, and we're going to paste this. And then we're going to start with enemy 1. Yes, I need enemy 1. Then we do the same for enemy 2, and also for ship, the new ship, that is my ship. Okay, so we have these 3 things, and also we need the bullet. I'm not sure if the one that we have in here, 64 times 64, I guess that's okay. We will use this bullet. And what else it is necessary? Start, we have a text that it's called start, so we can use that one, or we can make it again. Well, in this case we're going to use it again. So we have these files, and then we are just going to prepare the layout. As you check here, this is my screen and this is my canvas, and this is probably some buttons or another canvas, so I'm not sure. Okay, now today I'm planning to move the ship from left to right. Okay, I'm fine with this. So we can use a canvas or we can use just buttons. So now, as I show you, my screen, it is in here. And it has this. I haven't exported this thing. Maybe I'm going to export this, and that is 320 times 569. I'm going to export this as screen BG. So let's use lots of graphics. So, and then I'm going to import it in here. Screen, but I don't want the other thing, sorry. So let me just remove some things. Export here. Let me duplicate this one, and I'm going to place it in here, because when you have something over or on in Inkscape, you export all the things that are on. Well, now let's export again. Export, replace, and we go to App Inventor. But I want the text. Oh, again, sorry for that. So let's delete this one. So let's select this, Control D, and we're going to export. Replace, yeah, please. Then we go here to App Inventor, we upload this file, and then we're going to start with that. Also, the name, Space Invaders. It's Invaders, but well, Space Invaders. And let's call it re. Then the background, we're going to center everything in the screen. So just center here, and then for the top, not now, background image, screen background. And we have that thing in Appinventor. So opening screen animation, icon. Well, we can have an icon. Maybe the icon could be enemy 1 or enemy 2. Let's select just enemy 2. Screen orientation, portrait. Scrollable, no. Fix. Title of the screens, Space Invaders Inventor. Version 1. Let's rename this to version 2 because this is our version 2. Well, now we have these things, Space Invaders Inventor, and that's it. Okay, so now let's continue. What's next? Well, we need the canvas. If you check, we have here canvas, and canvas, it is more or less, if we check the space in here, it is like moved 50 pixels down, okay, from the top of the screen, 50 pixels. So in that case, we are going to create an empty image in here. It's empty, and we're going to, don't worry about the name, we're just going to set this to 50 pixels high. This is going to push our canvas down a little bit under the title. Well, let's hope. Now we're going to have an horizontal arrangement. We're going to set this horizontal arrangement to the same size of the canvas, or a little bit bigger if you want, or the same size. So in this case we have that canvas is 360 256. 360 256. You can check these values in here. So 256 256. Okay, so let's set it to 256 times 360. Just to see the results, we are going to use here a color gray, just to see where are we now. And that's it. Looks okay, the text quite similar to this. So we have Space Invaders, and then we have it in here. So now we need to drag the canvas. Well, this, the horizontal arrangement, we are going to call it canvas horizontal arrangement. Okay, so this is going to contain our canvas. It will be here. We can set it to field parent, or we can use the values. Okay, so let's use the values. 360 360 times 256. That's it. Now canvas is inside. Now for canvas, we're going to use the background, that background. So let's use the background here, background image, and we go to my ship, bullet start, PNG. We don't have it yet. So this is the background invaders, and if you remember the size for this, it is like the same size of the canvas. So it is 360 times 256. Now we change the color of the background to none, and that's it. So quite the same. Quite. Well, I guess this is just the basic design for this app to work. We can add the buttons right now just to have this kind of feeling, but I'm not sure right now because I am planning to make maybe canvas, second canvas here to move this, or buttons. So let's just wait for that and continue. Well, now I'm going to save this project as Space Invader initial file ini. Let's call it initial. Space Invader reloaded initial. And we're going to save it. Why? Well, guys, as you know, I am trying to get more likes and subscribers, okay? So I want you to subscribe to the channel, and I also want you to try to help me with your likes and sharing this video. Okay, so well, if this video gets to the 10 likes, because we haven't got any video with 10 likes, well, the last ones, okay, I will share this initial file. Okay, so now I'm going to return to my project, and then you have all the images inserted and everything ready to start with the game. Well, now we need some sprites. Let's add first the sprite of the ship, and let's call it ship sprite, and let's use SP, and we're going to use for this the picture, it will be like my ship 2. That's it. Now the size, let's check the size in here. I wanted to have a small image, 24 times 18, 24 pixels times 18. And yes, that's the way I want it. Now the position, it will be almost at the bottom. So if the screen it is 360, well, the ship could be in probably 360 60. And if not, it's because we move it, no, 360, no, because we have to subtract the height of this thing. So 342, let's see. And yes, it's at the bottom because it is the size of the height of the canvas minus the height of the image. So let's just move it a little bit up. So let's set it to 335. Yes, I like it more over there. So now we can add some enemies. For the enemies, if you check, I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 enemies. I know 9 enemies. Okay, so well, in 4 rows. Okay, so I have 3, 4 rows. Okay, so these are a lot. So let's start just adding the first 4, the first 5 enemies. Okay, so let's drag 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 enemies. Okay, so we will have 9 enemies over there. Okay, we can just set the images in here, or we can use the blocks. Okay, so and also we can set the size of these sprites in here. So, but I guess we are going to go to the blocks right now. So I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this as a checkpoint 1, and that's it, just in case. So we have the 10 enemies that we have to fill in here the screen. Okay, well, I will show you later. First, let's add the enemies. To add the enemies, let's create a component of sprites of enemies. Okay, so a component is basically just a group of sprites that are going to be affected at the same time. Okay, well, we're going to use this group instead of just modifying one by one. We're going to use this group or list of sprites to modify. For example, if I want to change the size of all the sprites at the same time, well, this is very useful. Okay, so first let's rename this to enemy component. Yeah, let's call it sprites sp, and then we're going to set this to an empty list. Then we're going to create a procedure, and this procedure is, let's call it make enemies. So let's call this make enemies. The first thing that we need to do is add items to this list. Okay, we're going to add image sprite 1, image sprite 2, image sprite 3, and so forth and so. Okay, so to do that, we have to go here to image sprite 1, and we're going to go to the bottom. We're going to drag this block that it just has the name of the sprite, and we're going to add it in the first item, and we're going to set here list 1. Now we are going to do the same. We're going to add 8 slots more to have the 9 spaces for the app, and we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, and then we just duplicate with Ctrl C, Ctrl V, Ctrl V, Ctrl V, Ctrl V, Ctrl V until we finish, and then we are going to use the drop menu, and we are going to just change the names. Be careful with these, guys, this is important. Sometimes we are not selecting the right one. The 2, the 3, the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So we are going to add the enemies to the list. So now that we have this list filled with enemies, we are going to use for each. Remember, I have a video about using for each. It's pretty useful, okay, to use this. And we're going to call this to sprites. No, to enemies, sorry. You can call it the way you want, okay? For each enemy in the list, which list? This list that we just created. For each enemy in this list, I want you to do what? Well, the first thing that is we need to size them. So we are going to go to the bottom of these blocks, and then you look for any component, okay? You expand and you go for any image sprite. Then we're going to go for the property in width and height. Remember that I told you that in here we have these sprites are like 16 times 12. So we're going to check that. Okay, 16 is for the width. Okay, here in what you have of component, you just drag this variable. Let's set the image sprite width of the current enemy. This is like a loop, and we're going to set this to 16. Now we duplicate this one and we change it to height, and we're going to set it to 12. So all the enemies are going to have this size, but we are missing something important: the image. So we go to the same any image sprite blocks, and we're going to select picture, and we're going to use the picture. But there is a problem. So we have two different pictures. We want to fill these image containers with random pictures, maybe one or the enemy two. So to do that, we're going to create here a list, and we're going to call this list enemy pictures, and then we can add more enemy pictures if we want. And we're going to create here a list. So in this case we're going to set this to list, and the first item, it will be let's use the name from the enemies that we have. If you check here, we have N1 and N2. N1 PNG and N2. We're going to use random right now, just to have some variety. So, and now we're going to select here enemy again. We set it to this, and 2. We're going to select 2, okay, a random image from this list. We're going to go to lists, then we select pick random item list from this, and we will have this thing. Okay, so obviously we haven't placed the images, so we are going to have disorder. So just let's refresh the screen and let's try here number 1. But nothing is going to happen because I haven't loaded. I just created the procedure, but the procedure is not running because it's not inserted in anything. So to run the procedure, we're going to use screen initialize, and we're going to insert this procedure, make enemies. So let's go here and let's do 2, refresh. We wait a little, and we have our enemies. Enemies look okay. If you check a little bit small, I'm not sure if this is the size I want. Oh, I guess yes. I want to have this kind of style, pretty small graphics, okay, so I like it. Well, I guess I like it. If not, it's so simple to change everything. You just change here, for example, I want to have as the ship, the same values as the ship. For example, we have here the ship, and remember the ship is 18 times 24, so we just go here 18 times 24, so this is 24 and this is 18, and we just go to designer, refresh, and we will have automatically all the ships resized. it looks okay, but I prefer small things. So it was 16 and it was 12, right? Well, for me, just for me. So we just do that, and we have this wonderful thing. We save the project and we save a checkpoint. Okay, now we need to place now these ships. Remember, we have 9. So we have 9 and we have here some space. Okay, if I group this ship, let me just go here to layers, and I'm going to unhide this thing just to select this. I'm going to group them. I will explain you why. I group with Ctrl G. Then I'm going to center the the images inside this canvas. We remove this, and that is center. So now I'm going to take this guy. I'm going to change the color just to see more or less where is the space for the first screen ship. It is like 40 pixels more or less. So I'm going to set it to 40 pixels the first ship place. Okay, 40 pixels from 0 to here. So now let's see how can we make that with the blocks. Remember, this is like a loop, guys. Okay, so this is like doing this one by one by one by one from enemy 1 to enemy 2, then enemy 3. So this is like a loop that is going to stop when it gets to the last item in the list. Okay, so this is important. Now, to place first in X ships, we need to do it to place them based on a size. Okay, so the first size, it is like, if we set it to 40, check what happens. We go to any component again and any image sprite, and we're going to set this to duplicate enemy, because we use always enemy. And if I place to 40, it will place all the ships one over another in the same part, and you have just one super ship. Okay, and it's in 40. Now, what's necessary in this case? We need to check that we have 40, so we need to have the ships organized in here. So after we place the first ship, we need to place the second one, the third one, the fourth, the fifth, and all of them have like a space if you check in here. So maybe like 4 pixels or something. Okay, so let's see what happens if we do this plus. So let's say that we use the same value that we have. We're going to go for X, we duplicate this one, we place it over here, over there, and what happens if we place it right like that? So let's see what happens right now. I'm not sure, I'm not very sure. So we refresh the screen, and more or less it looks more interesting. Now it has this one, then this one, this one, then this one, then this one. It is like moving them, okay, different places. So it's using the image sprite of the image number 1, and then place the other to the other spot. Okay, if we change this, this is nothing happening, but it looks better. So we refresh the screen, and we have almost the same result. So what can we do? Well, maybe, perhaps. So we need to reduce this thing, okay? So we can start like placing the first ship, okay? Yes, in 40 it's okay. So sets the image sprite in 40. So we're going to create a variable. Sometimes it's a good idea, and we're going to call it distance. And we're going to set the distance plus, I don't know, maybe 8. And 6. Let's use distance to 6. So now we're going to place the enemy first in 40. Okay, the first enemy in 40. So to do that, we're going to create a condition if, and we're going to run maybe a local variable. As I told you, this is not like, I am really sure that this is going to work. So we're going to call it index, and we're going to set the index to 0, and we're going to use here just, you know, if this is less than this variable that we just created is less than 2, I guess it's 2, if not it's 1, but well, set image sprite to 40, else if this is bigger than this value, so let's set it to 1, and we're going to increase this value when we run this loop. So we're going to set the local index variable plus 1. And we're going to move it over here. Now else, what happens if this is not like that? Well, in that case, we're going to use this. We're going to use the distance. We're going to increase the distance. Distance, okay, plus image x, no, image width, okay. So that's the idea here. So image width plus the width of this thing, and then we're going to use, in this case, the value of, I guess, global distance, and this variable we are going to reset this variable 0. Well, no, let's keep it like that, just like that, to see what's happening right now. I'm not sure if this is gonna work, honestly. This is the first time I try to make it like this, but well, that's the idea about trying these things. So now what happens? Well, let's analyze this. We have this, the local index, so maybe we need to use this in here, and we need to cover this part. We're going to run the loop. So let's see if this is working, or if we have to check the code again. Let's go to the blocks. Yes, everything is like stuck over there. So now set image x of the component get enemy to 40 if the index is equal. Let's check the index, if the index was modified or not. Oh, we cannot see the index right now. Well, let's see global distance. Global distance stays the same, so this is the problem. Okay, so we're having here global distance is not moving. If global index is less than 1, so we're going to increase the global index plus 1. So we're going to check this thing. I guess I need to fix this. Just give me a second, I will back, okay? Not in order to avoid making this video longer. So I'm going to stop just for a moment. I just was practicing and checking, okay? And this is the way I fix this thing. The first thing, well, the global distance, I set it to 0, but no, it doesn't matter. When we create the enemy, we're going to set the initial global distance to 40. Okay, then after the picture, we set the picture, we're going to set the image, the first image, it will be like affected, or it will use the 40, that this is the space that we have in here, 40, remember? So it was in here, so this 40 thing, okay? So just for the first image. Now, the second image, okay, then after we place the first image at 40, then we are going to do this with the distance. We are going to modify the distance every time the loop runs. Okay, we are going to use 40 plus the width of the image, but we don't want to be the image together, plus 4. Why 4? Well, because in Inkscape I was using like 4 to separate these enemies. So basically that's why I set it to 4. Okay, so the width of the ship plus 4, and then we have it over there. Now if you check, the images are not aligned in Y. So for Y it's not very complicated. We're going to duplicate this one, and we're going to set Y, and for Y we are going to use just a value that it is quite similar to the one I have in Inkscape. We can use another thing, or another square, just to check how many pixels are we move. So in this case I can use 36. So we go in here to App Inventor and we set this to 36 pixels. And this is the same for all the pixels in there. So we just set it to 22. And that's it. Now I make it bigger for you to see. So we have these sprites at that. Okay, and we have this commercial. And if we check the idea we had in this part, it looks quite the same. Oh, sorry. So we are almost done with this first part. Okay, so it looks okay. Now what about the next rows of enemies? Well, we need more sprites. Okay, so what can we do? Well, we can use this one, and then we're going to make another line and another line, another line of component, another. So how to do that? Well, first here in the media, drawing and animation, I mean, we're going to drag some more sprites. We need 9 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pixels. Okay, so we have 9 pixels, 9 sprites more. Okay, so now for the second row, pay attention to this. We are going to do again, we're going to go to App Inventor, to the blocks, and then we have this global enemy component. We're going to duplicate this, and global enemy component 2, sprite component 2, and we are going to duplicate this procedure, the make enemies, because basically this is the idea. We are just going to duplicate things. Okay, so we're going to duplicate this, or recycle these blocks for enemies, and we're going to move it below this thing just to have some kind of order. This didn't work, sorry, it was from the previous thing. That's it. Make enemies 2. Now we just change the sprites to number 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Now, the global distance, again, when we run this procedure, it will set it again to 40. Now, the values, we are going to change this, is very important. For each enemy in the list, global enemy component 2, we are going to do the same things, except for this, the Y. We are going to move the Y. If we have 36 for the other one, now we are going to have 36 more or less 52 or 53. We are going to set it at 53, or much better, we can use the height of the images sprites. So we're going to use any image sprite again, sorry, and we are going to go here to Y. So we're going to affect this by the position of these things. Okay, talking about its Y. So the Y position, it was 36, the original. So we're going to increase this plus. So check the height of the enemy plus 36. So, and then we are going to see what happens, and then we just adjust the values. We can use this 152, or we can do it just like I am doing this thing. We refresh the screen, 23, and let's see what happens. But the procedure is not loaded, sorry. We're going to load it here after procedure number 1. When you finish this procedure, I want you to run call enemies make 2. So 24. And nothing is happening. We are going to see why. Okay, we have image sprite, global, make enemies 2. We are going to run this thing. We have to set this global enemy components 2, enemy components 2. But we are going to analyze what's wrong with this thing. So let's go in here. So make enemies, it's add enemies. First we add the enemies, sprites, then the global distance, then image sprite, home. I don't know, I have to know. Well, image sprite of component Y position. So I don't know what's wrong with this thing. So we are not checking these blocks. So instead of having this thing in here, let's insert this in make enemies. Let's go in here, 26, blocks, and we have nothing. Make enemies 2. We are going to add enemies to this list. Distance, get global enemy. Is this? Sorry guys, check. That's the problem. We are not adding anything to the list. Oof, be careful. Well, it's good that you see this kind of mistakes, because sometimes we don't see the mistakes really clear. clearly. And yes, we have these guys. They are very close. They are very close. Let me check if I can just see. No, let's move them a little bit down. Okay, so in this case we're going to modify just this value. Instead of 30, let's call it 40. Because I remember the ships were like 40, 52. So let's refresh. 28. And that's it. Okay, it was a little very simple mistake, okay, but sometimes you have to check your blocks, the names of your blocks, and that's it. It looks very beautiful, right? Now we can add the third line. Okay, so why don't you stop the video and try to add the third line, okay? And I will do it for you in a moment. Just let me drink some water. Well, we're ready. So let's add again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. 9 enemies more. Well, how to do it? The first thing is just to duplicate the previous procedure, in this case enemies 2. We duplicate, now it's make enemy 3, and we drag it below everything. Then we are going to create the variable, remember? So the list of the component, we are going to go here, just to have everything together. We're going to duplicate this one, and we have SP3. And we're going to refresh the information in the last procedure, make enemies 3. So we change this to 3, not like me, and we change this to 3. That's it. Then we go to the blocks to initialize, sorry, and we are going to add procedure number 3. And then we just refresh the screen, and we have luckily we have nothing, because why do you think we have this mistake? What do you think? So check, we have this. I have to change now from, in this case it was 18, the last one, 19, 20, 21. Oh, that's something I don't like. We were in 21. Let me just reduce the size of this. That's the problem when you work with very huge things. 22. Sorry, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and 27. And now I guess we're ready to go to 30. And let me just change the size of the blocks again for you to see. Unfortunately, companion crash. Too many enemies. Nah, I don't think so. Or maybe. But well, TBSLYK. You just wait a little bit. And now we have this thing. We need to refresh everything again. So let's refresh the screen. 31, and let's see if we have everything fixed. Well, again, we don't have these things. Why? Well, let's check again. we have global enemy component sp3. We are going to rename this just in case, but it's not necessary. 3 global enemies, and global enemies. Enemy 2 and enemy 3. Okay. Oh, maybe that's the mistake. We have a problem with App Inventor. So let's save a checkpoint if we can. Checkpoint 3, 32. And I know why. If you check, we have here some sprites overlapping. Maybe that's the problem. So we're going to go to the last procedure. And now we're not going to use 40. Okay. So we need to use the other size from these pixels. Instead of this one, I'm going to use I'm going to use, to fix this formula, I'm going to use the size of a normal sprite, the height, so from the bottom, sprite height, but I want a sprite from the second line. We know that from 1 to 9 is line number 2, so from 10, sprite number 10. Sprite number 10 height, no, position in Y. Okay. Plus 40. I don't think that is plus 40, but we're going to check. So let's use 33. And it's too much, I know. So the position of the sprites in here now plus 8. So let me check my Inkscape. Let's duplicate this one and let's just make it like this. And it is like almost 3, so we can set it to 3. So this position plus 3. I am showing you another way to do it. So let's refresh the screen and hopefully we have something terrible. Now they are overlapping because they are using the position in Y, but position in Y, it is wrong. It has to be position in Y plus the height of this thing plus now plus this value, that is 3. And then if we refresh, this thing is ready. Yeah, looks much better. And then you can add the 4th line, the 5th line, and the 6th line. But I guess for this tutorial it is almost done. Okay, well, so what can we do with the buttons and these things? You can do two things to add the buttons. So one thing it is to add another canvas. So if you add a second canvas, you can control the touches and everything in just one place. You just need to set the size, okay, to move the screen, to move the ship, or to move these enemies. But I guess we're going to do that for the next. What I want you to do just to finish this video, okay, it is to move my enemies. Okay, so I want to move these guys. Well, now pay attention. I want to move all the enemies, okay, using the same principle. To do that, we're going to create a super list with all the enemies. So how to do that? Well, when we finish to create the last line of enemies, we're going to go to the last line. When we finish this loop, okay, I am in make enemies procedure 3. We are going to create a super list with all the enemies. Okay, so we are going to call this enemies super list. And to do that, what is the thing? We are going to copy lists. Okay, we are going to create a new list first, and we are going to create it in here just to visualize things. Okay, so we're going to call it super, let's call it enemies super list component, and then we're going to set it to an empty list, and then we're going to add all the lists. Okay, so we're going to add items to the list or copy list, append to list. So the list 1, and we're going to append to this list, to the list number, to this list we are going to insert first the global SP component. Then we are going to duplicate this one, and again to the list 1 we are going to append number 2, and then duplicate, and finally we are going to add all the components in enemy list 3, and that way we're going to create that thing. So we are going to insert this enemy super list in initialize after we just load all the enemies. So we go in here, we go to enemies super list. So we're going to make this list. We're going to use this list to move all the enemies at the same time, because I want them to move organized. Okay, so now how to do that? Well, we need to think a little bit about moving enemies to the right and then to the left, to the right, to the left, to the right, to the left. So if we check, we can move enemies by 5 pixels or 10 pixels or something. So to do that, we are going to use, I guess, a clock, or we can set speed. Yes, I guess we are going to use speed. So let's move enemies when we touch this thing. Okay, so now let's create something to say here, move enemies. To move enemies, well, we're going to use for each. Right now I'm going to set the images, any component, image sprite. We are going to affect the speed of all these things, and we're going to use another thing. I'm not sure if this is gonna work. We're going to set this image sprite of component. We need to create the for each, or to use the for each enemy in the list. The super list now is in the super list enemy. We're going to set the speed to 3, to something slow, 2 or 3. Now when we do this, okay, we are going to change the speed of all the enemies, but they are going to move to the right. So let's see what happens right now if I just add this procedure when we load the screen after we created everything. So we're going to use here and we're going to refresh. And all of them go. That's not very nice, right? So just let's refresh this. Stop them. Okay. So now, what to do to move the enemies? Well, we're moving all the enemies, and if you check, so all of them move and then stop there. Okay, so we want them to move just a little bit here and then return. Go here, return. Go here, return. Okay, so well, to do that, we're going to check where we can set a timer or we can set another thing. So what can we do? Well, I am thinking that the best option right now, okay, so yes, right now I am thinking that the best option it is to move like 2 seconds or 3 seconds to the right and then return. And we don't have any property in here for that. So we can check the position of all the sprites, okay? So maybe we can use this value to check if the position is bigger than, we can use the bounds also. If the position of this enemy, if the position in X, it is bigger or more than, you know what, let's create here a variable, and let's create here a local variable, very crazy variable, sprite distance or something like that, and we are going to use this as 0, and every time we move, we're going to set this to this value. Maybe that, I'm not sure. So now this value, if this value it is bigger than the same value plus 10, I guess 10 is too much, 9, well, set image sprite -3. I am not using distance, but then we can use in here, I guess, distance. So let's see what we have. Ensure. Nothing is happening. So condition is not okay. We will check this. It's not moving right now. So let me stop this and try to figure it out. Well, I am back, and as you can see, I finally could move these things from side to side. I was having a very hard time to make it, okay, and then I was reading something extra in other for other games, okay, and I found a solution for this, okay. So if you check here it is the result. They are moving from right to left, from right to left, okay. They are quite slow right now because of the clock. I am using a clock, but I'm going to explain you the solution for this. So I guess it is not necessary to make my steps. First, I went to Inkscape and I created here this graphic that we cannot see because it has no color. Right now it has a color, and I set it to 20, and the size of the a big size, okay. In this case I just set it to 596, but having it like 360 will be okay. So let me just select 360. That's okay. 360. Now it was in here 20, and then I just make it transparent, okay. So you can remove just the color like this, and then you just export the image, and I export it as boundaries PNG. So here is the size. So why? The idea was to detect the collision of any of these sprites with the boundaries. So I just make this graphic, this invisible graphic, and then I went to App Inventor, and here in the designer I add two sprites, boundary 1 and boundary 2. Boundary 1 is on the left and boundary 2 it's on the right. Boundary 1 it is x0 and y it is set to 0, and for boundary 2 quite similar. X is 236 and Y is 0, and that's it. The width is 20. The height, in this case it can be 300 and something, but I set it so big, but it's not necessary. It is 360. I was thinking other things. 360. Just let's correct that. And boundary 2, it is also 360. Because that's the size of my canvas. Now, after I set them, okay, they are invisible, but they exist, they are sprites. Well, don't worry about that. We're going to refresh everything. Really, I was fighting with this solution because it was not easy for me. I was trying many different things, okay, different methods, but now none of them work for me. And then I found a solution, okay. And just trying to use these boundaries. XSAT connect. Now the idea, so we have these boundaries and we need to detect the collision with boundary from the left and boundary from the right. So I created this variable that is change heading. It's set to 5. Now pay attention. Normally we have this in a clock, okay. In the clock we have for each enemy in this super list, okay, with all the components. So we are going to move them by the position plus the heading. So in that case it is moving, if you can check here, 210, 215, 220, okay, and you play the sound. But what happens when you get to this part? Well, what happens when you get to the boundary? If any of the enemies has a collision with this boundary, in this case is boundary 2, the one in the right, I want you to change the heading to -5. So it will continue here with this formula, but now subtracting check 205, 200, 195. Then if you have collision with boundary 1, that is the one here on the left, well, now heading will change to 5 again, and that's it. It looks pretty simple, but believe me, it took me hours, but well, anyway. So now let's continue with this. So now what's next now? Well, we want these aliens to get closer to us, okay? Every time they get to the edge or to the boundary. So in that case, we are going to add here, we are going to increase the current Y position. We are going to change it. We are going to increase this plus. We are going to set it to enemy. And we're going to change based on their current Y position plus let me duplicate this one, plus, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30 pixels, 30. So let's see what happens. So we are going to copy this, okay, when we have collisions. So we are going to do it right there, and then we are going to duplicate this one and right there. Now just let's wait for this to see if this thing is working or not. Oh, now I see what happened. Now we need to modify some other things, because the ones that are touching over here are the ones that are affected. So that's why. Looks interesting. Well, now let's refresh the screen. And I guess we now to change this false solution. So we're going to change this, okay. What we want now is not when we have collision, the one that has collision. We want to modify all of them, okay, when they have this kind of collision. So let's check it again. So let's try again and give me just some seconds. And well, I just found a simple solution. I guess it is useful for us. Okay, but first let's change just a little bit the speed of the clock. So let's set it to 500, the interval. And now the solution, it was this. So in the same collision, we have to insert this thing. Check. I use another for each, but in this case the collision is activated in this for each, okay, and this for each, it's going to modify the sprite, all the sprites Y axis plus 2, and I just copy that procedure in here. Okay, so this is just another for each inserted in one for each. Okay, well, that's pretty much the thing. So we have these enemies moving, okay, and we have them with this annoying sound. Anyway, I guess that looks okay. And just give me a second. I guess we are almost finishing this tutorial that it was really tiring for me. So just let's avoid this. Let's freeze these guys. Okay, so we have them. Well, we maybe just have to war with the enemy, that with the ship. So just to move the ship. But I guess we're going to do that in the next tutorial. You can check the other tutorials because I have covered some of these similar ideas. Okay, for example, if you want to move this guy, you can use some of the tutorials about Mario, one of the Mario apps that I did. Okay, and I show you how to move them. And I was planning to move the ship using here a canvas or probably some buttons. Okay, so I'm not really sure right now, but anyway, my name is Eduardo, and this was a tutorial for you, and I hope you really like it. Remember that I will be sharing you all the images and sounds and even the source file, but just the source file with all the starting things. Okay, so the images and this thing. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, really. And also I just show you how to do it with Inkscape. Okay, remember this kind of design to have a better look than before. Okay, so please help me with your like, share the video, and any problems, questions, just let me know them in the section of the comments, please. Okay, so I will see you next time. Thank you very much.